Welcome back to Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. Now, it's a nightmare for American women that refuses to end. On Wednesday, an appeals court in the United States ruled that access to the abortion pill, mifepristone, must be restricted. The court has ordered a ban on telemedicine prescriptions and shipments of the drug by mail, though the decision will not immediately take effect. The New Orleans-based 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals stopped short of ruling that the drug must be pulled off the market altogether, as the lower court had done. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Justice said the Biden administration will appeal this ruling in the U.S. Supreme Court. President Biden, a Democrat, supports abortion rights and last year ordered the Federal Health Agency to expand access to mifepristone. The ruling will not take effect, as we said, until the Supreme Court reviews it, which could occur in its upcoming term between October and June. The three-judge 5th Circuit panel was reviewing an order in April by a U.S. District Court judge in Texas. While it was a preliminary ruling that applied while the case was pending, the judge said he was ultimately likely to make it permanent. The ruling stems from a lawsuit brought by 4 anti-abortion groups headed by the recently formed Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine and 4 anti-abortion doctors who sued in November. They argue that the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, used an improper process when it approved mifepristone in 2000 and did not adequately consider the drug's safety when used by minors. GenBioPro Inc., which sells a generic version of mifepristone, said in a statement from the CEO, "We remain concerned about extremists and special interests using the court in an attempt to undermine science and access to evidence-based medication, as well as attempts to undermine the US FDA's regulatory authority." All 3 judges on the panel are staunchly conservative with a history of opposing abortion rights. One of them, Circuit Judge James Ho, said he would have gone further and pulled mifepristone off the market, but the other 2 judges said the lawsuit came too late to challenge the original 2000 approval. Instead, the majority of the panel rolled back FDA actions that had made the drug easier to access in recent years. These included a decision in 2021 to allow the drug to be prescribed by telemedicine and sent by mail instead of requiring an in-person visit to the doctor. The court also reversed the agency's 2016 decision to allow mifepristone to be used up to 10 weeks of pregnancy, up from 7. Of course, this is only the latest in a series of setbacks to American women as far as their reproductive rights and abortion rights are concerned. Last year, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned its own landmark Roe versus Wade ruling that had legalized abortion nationwide. Since then, at least 15 of the 50 American states have banned abortion outright, while many others prohibited it after a certain length of pregnancy. Mifepristone is part of a 2-drug regimen for medication abortions, which account for more than half of abortions in the US. Numerous medical studies and many years of real-world use have concluded that the drug is safe and effective. Major medical associations, including the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and the American Medical Association, have said that pulling mifepristone off the market would harm patients by forcing them to undergo more invasive surgical abortions. In 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, as we said, a landmark 1973 decision that gave women in America the right to have an abortion before the fetus is viable outside the womb, before the 24 to 28 week mark. The ruling sent shockwaves throughout the country, sparking massive protests against what was a major blow to women's rights in that country. Abortion rights, which have been available to American women for over 2 generations, are now determined by individual states. All right, let's now turn our attention to Spain and some disturbing news coming in from there. More than 60 migrants are feared dead after a Spanish fishing vessel rescued a boat off the Atlantic archipelago of Cape Verde that originally had more than 100 people on board. 7 bodies were found on the boat and an estimated 56 people are missing at sea and presumed dead, according to the International Organization for Migration. Senegal's Foreign Affairs Ministry has said 38 people were rescued earlier in the week near Cape Verde, which is about 620 kilometers off the coast of West Africa. The Spanish migration advocacy group Walking Borders said the vessel was a large fishing boat called a pirogue, which had left Senegal on the 10th of July. Families in Fas Boy, a seaside town 145 kilometers north of the capital Dhaka, reached out to Walking Borders after about 10 days without hearing from loved ones on the boat. Survivors called home from Cape Verde after the rescue. Spain's Maritime Rescue Service confirmed that a Spanish fishing boat named the Zilari rescued 38 people and recovered 7 bodies from a Senegalese pirogue on the 14th of August after spotting it adrift northeast of Cape Verde. Almost all those on board the boat, which was at sea for over a month, are thought to have been from Senegal. The survivors include 4 children between the ages of 12 and 16. The ministry is liaising with authorities in Cape Verde to arrange the repatriation of the Senegalese nationals. Cape Verde officials have called for global action on migration to help prevent further loss of life. Health Minister Philomena Goncalves said, "We know that migration issues are global issues which require international cooperation, a lot of discussion and global strategy. We all the nations have to sit down at the table and see what we can do so that we don't lose any more lives at sea above all." Now, experts say safe pathways for migration are sorely lacking, and their absence gives room to smugglers and traffickers to put people on these deadly journeys. The survivors may have ended up in Cape Verde, but it was almost certainly not their intended destination. The archipelago sits around 600 kilometers off the coast of West Africa and on the migration route to the Canary Islands, a Spanish territory seen by many as a route to the European Union. It is one of the most dangerous journeys any migrant can make. Even though exact figures are hard to come by, but between 2020 and 2023, at least 67,000 people arrived in the Canary Islands. During this period, at least 2,500 people lost their lives. And the true figure could be far higher. So just what is driving people to leave their homes and risk such a dangerous journey? In many cases, poverty is thought to be a key factor. Europe is seen by many as a route to a better life for the person migrating, as well as remittances to support the families that they leave behind. There are, however, other factors at play as well. Much of West Africa is increasingly unstable, with coups and Islamist insurgencies making an already difficult situation far worse. All right, and here's some good news that we have for you from New York. In a medical breakthrough, New York University Langone Health surgeon successfully transplanted a pig kidney into a brain-dead man who has now survived on the organ for more than a month. Doctors at NYU Langone in New York City announced that they have successfully transplanted a genetically engineered pig kidney into a human who is declared brain dead in what they called a landmark step forward. The press release says this represents the longest period that a gene-edited pig kidney has functioned in a human and the latest step towards the advent of an alternate, sustainable supply of organs for transplants. A surgical team removed the kidneys of the human recipient in the month of July and transplanted the pig kidney as well as the thymus. Before the transplant, the pig kidney was modified to remove alpha-gal, a sugar molecule on the surface of pig cells that triggers a rare allergy to red meat as well as organ rejection. Dr. Robert Montgomery, a professor and chair of the Department of Surgery at NYU Langone Health and director of the NYU Langone Transplant Institute, said the recipient's kidney has functioned properly for a month and that its function will be monitored for another month. He said the 1-month kidney biopsies and kidney tests show no evidence of rejection and normal renal function. The pig kidney appears to replace all of the important tasks that the human kidney manages. Dr. Adam Greisemer, a transplant surgeon at NYU Langone Health, explained during a press conference that the thymus was also transplanted, embedded beneath the kidney's outer layer, because it has been shown to help protect the transplanted kidney from being attacked by the human immune system. The surgical staff also gave a special thanks to Mary Miller Duffy, the sister of the brain-dead man Maurice Miller, who allowed her brother's body to be used for this innovative procedure. The transplant recipient was 57-year-old Maurice Miller. His sister expressed pride in her brother being involved in this historic transplant. Research on the first of its kind operation that took place on the 14th of July will continue into mid-September as doctors monitor how long the animal's kidney will function properly inside a human body beyond 32 days. The pig kidney had only one genetic modification and is without experimental medications or devices. In xenotransplants, the medical term for a cross-species organ transplant, the team of surgeons had to create a unique solution for the patient's body to avoid hyperacute rejection of the animal's organ once it connected to the 57-year-old man's circulatory system. This was done by knocking out the alpha-gal gene that doctors altered to prevent a rejection in the man. The pig-to-human transplant is a hopeful sign that xenotransplantation, the process of transplanting non-human cells and organs into humans, may be viable after years of failures. All right, and as we end Global Lens tonight, here is an uplifting story also from New York City. Well, as the iconic Times Square brimmed with hues of the Indian tricolour in commemoration of India's 77th Independence Day on the 15th of August, an 1800-kilo chakra sculpture, a replica of the famed Konark wheel, was unveiled there to mark the special occasion. Members of the Indian American and diaspora community turned out in large numbers at the popular New York City landmark to celebrate India's Independence Day. The Consul General of India, New York, Randhir Jaiswal, unfurled the Indian tricolour at Times Square amid chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Vande Mataram and Jai Hind and patriotic songs as those gathered on the occasion waved Indian and American flags. The flag hoisting ceremony was organised by leading Indian diaspora organisation, the Federation of Indian Associations, and attended, amongst others, by Sarod Maestro, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan, and Michelin star chef, filmmaker, restaurateur and entrepreneur Vikas Khanna. It was Khanna who unveiled the specially made chakra sculpture. The inauguration ceremony of the Indian Independence exhibition showcased the awe-inspiring chakra sculpture, which the organizers described as a symbol of India's rich cultural heritage and shared values between India and the United States. Vikas Khanna, who had been working on bringing the chakra sculpture to New York City for nearly 5 years, said it was a dream come true and an emotional moment for him to have the sculpture unveiled at Times Square, especially on the occasion of India's Independence Day. Listen in.
We've been working on this for 5 years, and I made a Photoshop picture of Times Square and then chakra right in front of it, and the dream came true today. And I'm very emotional and also a little heartbroken because I started a dream with my sister and she's not here to witness this physically. And it's amazing to bring this kind of art, this quality, with such a strong heritage, with this beauty and intricacies, and to showcase to the world and to the next generation the power of Indian arts. You know, I feel that these artisans have worked day in and day out. Before pandemic, we started this project, and for us to see that the detailed work of this is absolutely it was made by gods. And then to feel that, you know, this gets shifted to my restaurant later in the year, so that, you know, for diaspora, for our kids who are born here, second generation, third generation, they get a reference of seeing something from India so pure and so majestic at the same time.
Majestic indeed. That was in fact a special Independence Day celebration for the Indian diaspora in America, especially in New York City. Well, that's all the time we have on Global Lens tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Up next, India's bid for a UN Security Council seat is blocked by a bunch of self-serving nations. The 1945-era rules mean India's contribution to the United Nations spanning many decades is often ignored. The rules of the game have to be tweaked for any real change. Watch the special show from News 9 Plus.